Arturia MiniLab 3 USB MIDI controller keyboard unboxing and demo. I've been recording music since I was in high school in the late 1980s. First on a cheap boombox, then eventually on a Tascam 4-track cassette recorder. I went digital in 2002 with an MBox USB MIDI interface, but I struggled to get comfortable with the included Pro Tools LE software, especially since it would break with every macOS update. Switching to GarageBand in 2006 was a revelation, both for its ease of use and for the included high-quality software instruments. That compelled me to buy my first USB MIDI controller keyboard. It was a hulking 5-octave M-Audio keyboard. I still have it, but it just sits on a shelf collecting dust. Later, I discovered M-Audio made a portable 2-octave version. It still had full-size keys, but it was small enough to squeeze into a backpack. Barely. But oddly, I've always been more comfortable playing mini keys rather than full piano-sized keys, probably because I learned on a Casio keyboard my parents got me for Christmas in 1984. So, when I wanted to get even more portable, it was a no-brainer to switch to the AKAI MPK Mini Mark II. Except, man, this thing is a piece of junk. I noticed it immediately. I like its design and features, but the velocity sensitivity is terrible. In MIDI terms, it jumps from the low 30s with a light touch up to a maxed out 127 with any amount of force. In more musical terms, it's like the only available dynamics are pianissimo and triple forte. And honestly, even though I've learned a lot since I switched to Logic in 2013, I still haven't figured out how to map the MPK Mini's knobs, or exactly why I'd even want to do that, but that's on me. Still, I've used the MPK Mini for years, despite its limitations. For the past 5 years or so, I haven't used a MIDI keyboard much in recording, as I've collected all of the Yamaha Reface keyboards. But I still use a MIDI keyboard to compose, as well as to trigger some software synths and drum machine samples. Recently, I added an Alesis Q Mini to my collection. I keep it at my desk for those moments when I'm struck by inspiration. I like the fact that it has a 2.5-octave keyboard, and that it's shallow enough to put on the desk in front of my laptop. But that comes at an expense. No finger drum pads. My MPK Mini is dying, though. Literally. First, the middle C key stopped working. That's, kind of important. And now the adjacent B and D flat keys have also died. So basically, this is now a finger drum pad with a semi-functional keyboard attached to it. I decided it was time for a switch. I saw David Hilowitz using an Arturia KeyStep MIDI keyboard, and I decided to give them a try. Fortunately, Arturia makes a MIDI controller that is very similar in size and functionality to the MPK Mini, including the drum pads I want. And here it is. My initial reaction is, it's a bit bigger than I thought it would be. It's bigger in all dimensions than the MPK Mini, even though it has the same number of keys. They're mini keys, but they're slightly wider than the keys on the MPK Mini, which makes it a bit more comfortable to play, even if you're used to many keys. Construction feels solid. The keys feel nice to the touch and are responsive. It has some of the same oversensitivity as the MPK Mini, but at some point I have to suspect that maybe the problem is my fingers and not the keys. The knobs and sliders all have a satisfying feel. Smooth, not cheap or loose feeling. And I like the addition of the small screen above the black knob, which displays various details to help you understand what you're doing, such as the level of the knobs and sliders, the amount of pitch bend or modulation, and even the velocity level when hitting the drum pads. Of course, it's entirely plastic, but the fake wood paneled sides are a nice touch, and a clever nod, I think, to the Atari 2600. And speaking of 2600, I bought this keyboard in a bundle from Sweetwater that includes software synths that accurately simulate the ARP 2600 and the Roland Juno 106. I improvised a little looping jam with the MiniLab 3 using those new software synths, along with Logic's built-in Rhodes-style electric piano and Linn drum samples. Let's check it out.